problem, but it wouldn't make any sense, right? So I could do something like, I could say, like, I don't really care what this is. I could just pick something. But if I did that, like, you see that this is what I have. This is what I have available to me. If I did that, like new player, you'd have it. It just wouldn't flow properly. So the other option, yeah. So Green says you can't instantiate interfaces, and Turney says this would be your coalesce. Targ is equal to new target. Same problem. Like whatever we put there as like a placeholder, it wouldn't make any sense. So we can do this instead. We can not use the object initializer, and we can just say we know we're always going to have a new game request. Oh, where am I? Gruen says you set it to null at the start, so it makes no sense what you're trying to fix now, as it's not what is broken. I am open to suggestions, but the point we were trying to look at was that we were trying to set target here as part of the object initializer, and to have it be just one line that would accommodate all cases. And we're finding that's not the case, right? And so the idea of instantializing up here, as Turney suggested, was if we did that, it wouldn't make any sense if we're trying to cast it to. So we're pulling that out. And Gruen says this works as is. Unfortunately, it doesn't. Gruen says you don't need to cast anything to type is iGameObject. The null is valid value for a variable of type iGameObject. I agree. We're exploring it because it didn't look like the when it was throwing the code or the exception, it did not look like it agreed with you. So let's go ahead and break it out. And I'll leave that one commented in, and we'll run both. And we'll all learn a little something something. And we'll mix in a little bit of what everybody was saying. So here we'll say okay. All right. So here we go. We have them both in here, right? We're leaving this as null, and so Gruen says that this should be fine as is, which would suggest that our problem is someplace else. And the way we're going to test that is by breaking everything out so that we don't have that assignment of null in the object initializer. Okay. And let's make sure it builds. Let's start that guy. And let's start this guy. And we'll start up and we'll say Gary. I'm pretty sure that one works. We get Gary back. And we type in look. Okay, so here we are. So we do all of our stuff. We do this, we do this. Our target's null, so we don't do anything with it. Then we do that, and we catch the exception again. So, what, pray tell? What is causing that exception? Everybody wants to know. Let's stop that guy. So, after all of that refactoring and looking at all this stuff, we're like, man, we double checked here and it all looks fine. This was null. It should have been fine. What is causing the problem? Goodness. So we'll play it back one more time, and this is going to, once we fix this, we'll end the exercise of debug theater. But I think it makes for a very interesting. Oops. Oh, yeah, Gary. I think it makes for a very, very interesting kind of look at debugging and all of this. So. The call itself was not the problem. Game action is set. Bam, bam. Retarget is null. So, while we were trying to harden the process strategy, the issue is not that null is being passed in. The issue is that we aren't doing the null check within execute. Red herrings everywhere, and debugging is hard. But it is all part of the process. So goodbye to all this. And in our hive mind, what we're seeing now is going to be doing this guy, right? Yeah, Terry's got their idea. Of course it's null. You said it's null before calling the method. Yes, exactly. So, it pulls up, so this is all whatever it's going to be, right? And we can keep refining it with things like this. But now that we're back in hive mind, as like this final note, we're seeing that we would like to maybe add another chain responsibility on there. So at first we were like, maybe the chain responsibility should be login and auth, and then process game request, and then finalize and return the game response to be the last responsibility. But this is the hive mind. And the hive mind should be able to safely assume that it can do whatever it wants because it has a properly formed GAIN request. So after login auth, ensure valid GAIN request. Process GAIN request. Yeah, validate GAIN request, sure. I like that. Validate request. Process request. We'll keep all of this very simple. Process request. Validate response. Return response. Cool? Yeah. So, that was a lot of poking around to further expose the reasons why I want to use a chain of responsibility. But, so, before it ever gets into our hive mind, into our singleton, I want to ensure that I have got a valid user and a valid request. Then I want to process that request, and before it comes back out of the pipe, I want to make sure that I've got a valid response and then return the response. So this is the only part of the chain that I want to have the hive mind do. That's it. And the chain of responsibility next week is going to help us do that. And we might break it up a little more. But in the meantime, let's change this. Let's change this. Let's change this. So we're doing the same thing here that we were doing over here, which is bring all this stuff up. Like go sender. Okay. Attorney says some recommendations on how the chain responsibility might work. Something like request still valid. An example, you get another command and it trumps. Again, yeah, I think maybe. I think, I'll just kind of bring it back over here. I think being able to have something that we can compose and really making the modules is going to make really whatever we want to do with it as far as the chain of responsibility possible without having to gunk up things that, you know, shouldn't be gunked up. Okay, so let's go ahead and test the theory that trying to access this property when it's null and it's not an assignment makes it all crazy town. No, did I miss something over here? No. Okay, so for simplicity, I'm just going to use the exact same syntax as before. Oops. Invalid meta statement. That is invalid, actually. Let's do something different.